Okay, thank you everybody for coming this afternoon. We wanted to give the public an operational media update and be able to answer any questions you might have. The city's been closely coordinating with our partner agencies, CPS, SAWS, and VIA. As everybody knows, we are expecting temperature over 107 degrees today with a heat index of something much higher. We want to make sure the community is safe and prepared for today. As a City of San Antonio organization, we will continue to operate our cooling centers this week to provide relief from the heat. Our cooling centers will be open until 10 p.m. this evening, so we're extending the hours of all those centers. Community members can visit the San Antonio Office of Emergency website at saoemprepare.com for a map and a listing of all the cooling centers and resources available to the community. We're also doing outreach with the homeless community and making sure that there is water and services provided and offering transportation to the cooling centers. And we'll continue to do that. Tramel Brown from VIA will talk a little bit more about this, but VIA will continue to offer free transportation to any of the cooling centers. Their buses are air conditioned, and we will have them up here in a minute to give more information. But if you need assistance in that area, you can call 311 or 210-207-6000. So as a city organization, we're going to be doing our part. Today at 1 p.m., we'll be setting all of our building temperatures to 78 degrees or higher in our facilities and shutting down or reducing any non-essential operational processes. We'll also be turning off lights in any unoccupied areas and are minimizing the use of non-essential electrical equipment this afternoon. CPS, Rudy will come up here in just a second. CPS is encouraging customers to reduce that electricity usage between the hours of 2 p.m. and 8 p.m. to help meet the energy demands throughout the state. And I want to invite Rudy up here to talk a little bit more about CPS and what they expect.
Thank you, Eric, and I appreciate everybody being here today. As you know, we're in the thick of some of the hottest temperatures that we've seen here in San Antonio ever. We've set already within the ERCOT system 6 new peaks as we've gone throughout the summer. Last Friday was the latest peak that we set, and CPS Energy has set our own peak as well, a new system peak for us. So by any measure, this is an extremely hot summer. Let me start off by saying thank you to our customers who have been engaging with us. Every kilowatt hour counts today on days like today, and so every customer who's allows us to raise their temperature through our thermostat program, any commercial customer who's turning off lights and reducing load, like Robert will come up here and talk about in a little bit, every little bit helps. It is this time of year, it highlights why energy efficiency and conservation programs like STEP are so important. They play a critical role when things get tight, like today, to help us manage that peak so that hopefully we don't find ourselves in a controlled outage situation. CPS Energy's generation assets have been performing really well. We're we have what we need to serve our customers, and we're actually sending some back to ERCOT that will help the state manage their need on days like today. And so today we are long, and we will be sending power back into the ERCOT market. But again, when it's going to be tight today for whatever reason, when resources are less than what we've seen, typically. Leaving my office, coming over here, typically you'd see us in the 500 to 800, 1,000 megawatts worth of wind on a normal summer day, and today it was 100 megawatts. And all of ERCOT was about 1,000 megawatts when I looked at my screen a little earlier today, and typically there could be anywhere from 15 to 20,000 megawatts of wind. We've got a lot of wind in Texas, but on days like today where it doesn't show up, we've got to rely on traditional generation assets. And again, ERCOT is not calling for rolling outages at this moment. They're not anticipating we get there, But if you lose a plant or, load, doesn't reduce the way we expect it to, we could be in that situation today. And so one of the things that we heard loud and clear after Winter Storm Uri was the community wanted us talking, to the community as a team, which we're doing today. We're letting you know it's possible. It's not likely, but it's possible. And if it happens, we will do everything we can to make sure that our customers are aware and know what to do. I would ask, everyone who's able to manage, if you have ceiling fans at home, turn them on. Allow those temperatures, to get into that 78 to 80 degrees. Right now, my upstairs unit is set on 82. I looked at it yesterday, and so, certainly our team is doing our part. We will be reducing lighting at the CPS Energy building as well today, like a lot of our customers are, and so we're just asking everybody, every megawatt, every kilowatt hour, it counts on days like today, and we're hopeful that we will get through today, unscathed, and if everybody works together, we'll be able to manage through it. But it is going to be hot. Today will be the hottest day of the year so far, and we expect kind of that trend to continue. I was driving between Corpus Christi and San Antonio yesterday, and my truck read 109 degrees, and I can promise you the difference between 100 degrees and 109 degrees when it comes to the stress on the energy grid is significant. And so that's why we're here today, to just let you know that we're doing our job, and we will do our job today to serve our community. But if we find ourselves in a managed outage situation, we will let you know what's happening and, as it's happening and what we're doing about it. So thank you, and I will now turn it over to my colleague, Robert Puente with SAWS.
Thank you, Rudy, and thank you, Eric. This whole effort to make sure that we have power and water didn't just start with this press conference. It started yesterday and this morning with meetings that we had, the three of us had, to talk about some of the things that we could do. So on behalf of SAWS, at CPS's request, they asked us what we could do. And some of the things we're going to be doing, at 1 o'clock, we're going to turn off the recycled pumps that puts recycled water into the San Antonio River. So you might see a lower flow, but it won't really drop that much. But you might, if you're really looking, you might see something. Our facilities, our headquarters, our 5 service centers, and these are service centers for workers, where all of our trucks are, all of our equipment is, are all going to generators. We're going to turn off the power we get from CPS Energy and go on generators starting at 2 p.m. But the big one that we're going to do is what is may have the biggest meter in San Antonio, and that's our H2 Oak Center. That's where we have desal water, and that's where we have the underground storage of water coming out and providing water to San Antonio. We're going to turn that off. We're going to be able to supplement that with Edwards water. So that particular plant that we're going to shut down is really, I think, going to be helpful because it does use a lot of energy, and it will be something that I think CPS can rely on. And these efforts were made to make sure that we have as little impact on the actual customer that we have. And so as a customer, you will not see faucets where you have lower pressure. You'll still be able to use your sinks and your commodes. Nothing out of the ordinary that we believe our residential customers and our commercial customers will see. So it's a team effort that we're doing, and that's what I think that our citizens require, our public requires. Thank you. So now I have the pleasure of introducing Tromel Brown. He's the Vice President at VIA, Security and Safety.
Good afternoon. One of the things that I want to be sure that we stress today is that VIA is doing our part as well to join this partnership and this team effort to make sure that we can keep the citizens and residents of the city in safe fashion. VIA will continue to provide free access to these cooling stations and centers simply by just boarding the bus, boarding the vehicle, letting your operator know where you're headed to or from. And it's that simple. Our vehicles are air conditioned. They have Wi-Fi. It's a comfortable trip to help you get there. We continue to provide this free service as long as those centers are open. And it's hot, as we've all heard and we all know we experience. But this is 7 days a week. So as long as those centers are open, we're here to do our part as well. This is part of our ongoing partnership to support the city, the county, and the important work of the ELC as well. It's also an extension of our commitment to getting people where they're going, making their connections safely, and we want to be sure we're a strong contributor to do that as well. We encourage everyone to prepare for extreme weather when traveling, as well as doing that what you can to make sure that you have a safe trip while you're going. And as a customer, we want to hear what your thoughts are, but we're here for you. There may be times where you'll even see some of our frontline supervisors making their rounds at different area bus stops. They're actually providing water for some of the customers that are waiting for some of these trips as well. So we are proud to be a strong partner among all of those that you've heard of so far, and we want to continue to do our part to help keep the community safe and keep people hydrated and get them to the cooling stations. Thank you.
Thanks, Jermel. So, Jermel, thanks for talking about the county. I did want to recognize that Monica Ramos from the county is here, and the county is working very closely with the city at the City-County Emergency Operations Center and this coordination and the opening of cooling centers out in the county as well. So that's the general overview. We're certainly here we've got a number of folks in the room and available for any questions that any of you may have.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. If rollouts do happen in San Antonio, what is the plan? Is it going to be equity-based? And will you have people going out to those communities that won't have power to make sure they're okay?
Well, one of the big differences between what we experienced in Uri and, typical, it hadn't happened since 2011, but, the experience will be that you'll be off for 15 minutes and then, on for, probably hours at a time. And we've got more parts of our system in our load shed system, so it's much more equitably kind of distributed. So I would expect the experience to be, if you're impacted, if we get there, that it'd be 15 minutes at a time that you might be off, and that we should be able to kind of hit all the parts of our system, hopefully, and kind of get through it without overburdening any one part of our system. So equity is absolutely a lens that we look through, and no geographic part of our city would be spared in that situation. Everybody would kind of share equally in that obligation that we have to reduce load, and we've really made improvements to that system to be able to manage to a much better customer experience overall.
You guys have put out on Twitter and Facebook and whatnot, has said you guys have enough energy for today. How about the rest of the week and as we continue on through these triple-digit temperatures?
Well, pretty much throughout the summer, we've managed to, we have a reserve capacity. A lot of times, if we need a little more, we'll go out and buy it on the market. We've got relationships with other generators. So we are always planning to have more power than we need for San Antonio. And so, today, tomorrow, the next day, weekly, we look at what we expect load to be. We look at our resources. And if we need to buy, power on the market, we can do that. And so, San Antonio, we're prepared to serve our customers, whatever the situation might be.
I have a question online for the cooling centers, actually. Are pets allowed? A lot of people are asking.
Yes.
Thank you.
Will we see any price spikes from ERCOT?
So, as we've been messaging, we recognize it's been a really rough summer already, for our customers between the natural gas price. Natural gas price is coming down a little bit, which should help in the outer months. But gas prices certainly is something we don't control that drives the amount of gas that we need to generate power. And then we've got it's gas prices and the heat. The heat, obviously, the air conditioning systems are meant to manage about a 20-degree difference between the outside temperature and the inside temperature. So if you're at 80 degrees or below, your air conditioning is pretty much going to run, consistently, which is why my own bill in the month of June, my bill was 30% higher than it was a year ago. So I'm seeing it. Everybody's seeing it. There won't be any price spikes necessarily associated with today. Again, we're long, a pretty good amount today, so we'll be selling power into the market, which will benefit our customers. So at the end of the day, when we're long, that's a benefit to our system, and that's where we want to, we try to manage to have more than we need so that we can sell it back into the market and offset the cost to our customers. So there will be no, price increase because of today. We kind of manage it as a portfolio, and our customers benefit from that approach.
What about with
No, ma'am. I mean, and it's something that comes up, frequently. Oh, well, well, they need to give me a credit. CPS needs to give us a credit because, we were out of power. Well, you're not using power, if we do have to, manage through it, you're not using power during that time frame. So obviously you don't get charged. So there isn't any specific charge you're going to see associated with a potential, rolling outage situation.
The time frame of 2 to 8 o'clock has been harped on from you guys in ERCOT. Can you give us an example of how that time frame and how people turning off their lights or their appliances, not using those appliances, can actually help? How many gigawatts or megawatts, kilowatts could that save people, and how
Sure.
can that help?
So, like my house, I've had, my wife texted me earlier. She's like, hey, we've got some clothes to wash. I was like, well, wash them before 1 o'clock. So when you're not running pool pumps, when you're not running your washers or dryers or dishwashers or whatever the case might be, when you're turning off lights in the room, all of that, just takes the demand where it normally would be and just ratchets it down a notch. So we see that in our load in our load profiles as we're looking throughout the day, and then we've got formal relationships with SAWs, with school districts, with large commercial customers in San Antonio that are able to manage and stop processes that usually require energy. And all of that amounts to about 250 megawatts worth of demand savings. So, again, for us, if we need 5,000 megawatts, for any given really hot, summer day, and we deploy demand response, and our customers respond by lowering their usage, then that's less energy than we need to generate, to serve our customers. And that's how all these programs work together. So we've got more energy efficiency and demand response capabilities in San Antonio, almost as much as the entire state of Texas, because we've been so aggressive about it. And I got to thank my board and the city council for approving the latest iteration of our Sustainable Tomorrow Energy Plan. That's where we go out and work with our customers to do things like thermostat programs, of course, the demand response. All of that matters on days like today.
Rudy, I have another question. In the event there are rolling blackouts, what is CPS Energy doing to make sure that the system does not get inverted to where people are without power for hours like we saw during the winter storm?
Great question. So when you're able to manage to 15 minutes off and some amount of time on, the networks where we saw the power off for a long time. When you're off for hours, the last time we were off, it wasn't 15 minutes, it was hours, and you're trying to bring customers back on, when all the air conditioners or all the heaters, kick on at the same time, it can, crash the system again, and you just can't get them back on. But if it's only 15 minutes, you're able to kind of manage through that. And what we've done since Winter Storm Uri is those really big circuits where we had that problem last time, we've installed basically switching devices that allow us to take that circuit and break it up. So if we get in that situation again, we won't, you'll be able to bring everybody back on. But how our system is structured today, you're going to be 15 minutes off, and we won't see that dynamic happen again. So now, unless a car hits a pole or there's some other reason why you've got an extended outage of some kind, that's the only reason why you might be out longer. And for those customers, our customer team is, anytime we see a big outage like that, we're messaging directly to customers, letting them know something happened and when the time that will be restored by. I do want to make a plug for any customer that has not updated their information with us recently. If they will call 210-353-2222, let us know, hey, I want to receive a text at this number, or I want to receive an email with this number with emergency response type information, we can update you and we'll get you on those lists, because we're sending those out daily. And I don't think we've sent out one today, but we will send one out updating our customers a little later on this afternoon. Yes, ma'am.
I have 3 questions. As the afternoon progresses and the demand is higher and the temperature is higher, are you in particular going to be able to give us real-time updates about how things are going here?
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. That's number 1. Number 2, you've mentioned your big partners who are standing here who have done a good job of curtailing services and cutting back. Do you feel like bragging about any other major commercial partners who are doing good for all of San Antonio? I mean, who else is helping by saying we're going to cut back?
Well, all of our San Antonio doesn't have a big, kind of corporate based like a lot of other communities do. But I will tell you, all of our industrial customers in San Antonio are part of our demand response program, which has allowed us to have one of the best, most robust programs in the state. So, I mean, I'll give you some examples. UTSA, great customer. All of our school districts are great, partners with us. So everybody that we think is an opportunity, schools aren't in right now, so they can kick their thermostats up a degree, take off pumps and things, of that nature. So all of our customers that have a capability are part of our program. And like Robert, situation, there are other customers that have the capability to move to backup generation that we'll see them do that this afternoon as well.
Okay, and so my final question is for Mr. Puente. You mentioned the whole plant that you're shutting down. Is that the place in Elmendorf?
Yes,
The H2O center?
H2 Oaks in far southern Bexar County.
All right, well, a number of us will be, did you have anyone say? Well, a number of us will be here. If there's any follow-up questions, just grab one of us. And thank you. We will continue to keep the media and the public updated. Thank you.